Hi, Dobby Jenda here from @figure.8.energy, or we light beans on Instagram. There's my Cash App, just in case you're feeling generous. And today I just gotta break it down to you, right? Something that I have been navigating for some time, knowing the answer, but being so resistant to the answer because that answer meant that there would be a different action, and it was an action I was so programmed against. Like, society says this, culturally it says this, even as a species, it says this, and it only says this because this is what we have known, right? So think about generational things, if we're just going to go for that tiny grasp of things. If we're talking about generational things, there's things that we know to be proven true and that work or that don't work because we've already had the history for it. And then there is something else that is also happening, and it's evolution. And it's evolution in a subject area that is so uncomfortable. I have been going through a custody battle. It's an ongoing custody battle for my youngest son. And I have been fighting it because of our programs, right? Our programs that I want to show up in a certain way for my child. But there's resistance. It's saying, no, you cannot show up that way for your child. But I'm like, but it is my God-given right, my source-given right. I am a human. It is, according to biology, this is what we know. According to generations and generations of everything, this is what I know. And it doesn't take away from what is, right? If you look around, we do not have the same structures that we used to have before with the family dynamics. Yeah, there's still some of those family dynamics in place, and I think they're beautiful. I love that so much. And if it's a healthy dynamic, then it's even greater. But the reality is, and what I've been finding, and what I've been feeling since I was young, is that the dynamics that have been in the past of like your immediate family with two parents and your extended family, right? So your aunts and uncles and grandparents and cousins and all of this stuff. Not everybody has that, right? We're not in villages. The majority of us aren't in villages that are experiencing that sense of community. And so there's been a lot of collective abandonment energy, a lot of disconnection from other beings, a lot of isolation, and there's a lot of households that are, for lack of better terms, broken, right? I know way more single moms than I ever imagined there would be. I remember being a child, and it was like a rare thing to hear that like a parent was parenting by themselves. And now, just by happenstance, and maybe I am attracting this energy too, but there are so many single guardians surrounding me, and we're all navigating it and figuring it out. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's also the evolution. It's like we do not have that support, right? If you don't have that support, you still have to show up for your child. And then if there's a custody case in it, then it's like me fighting since 2 months postpartum to be able to hold true in that. And I've gotten to the point where like I'm tired and I'm thinking about it and trying not to feel the guilt from the way that I feel like I'm supposed to show up. And the feeling I realized that of the way I was supposed to show up is really due to the ideas and beliefs that I was having. And when I like zoom out of it, and I've had to zoom out of it so many times, and I zoom out of it and I really look at the structure, and it's just like, you know what? The reality is there are and have been, and it's continuing to have dynamics where the child just has one parent, right? Or maybe there is like a back and forth between parents, or maybe sometimes there's no parents. and they're still getting through. And because there's more and more of this where, you know, I'm not going to get into all the details on why there are clashes between people. I'm just going to keep it as a baseline and say it's alignment. It's alignment, and it's the work that individuals need to do. And we have to still come back to the remembrance that our children chose us. Our children chose us for a reason. Whenever they're in that waiting room between realms, when they're just like, okay, I'm going to go to Earth and I'm either going to have this experience, I want to explore something, or I have a mission, or whatever the reason is that we volunteer to be here at this time, we're also choosing the different environments that we're going to put ourselves into because we know it's going to help us get to that next spot. And sometimes these things are uncomfortable. These things are like gross to feel through, but then we overcome it, and then we grow stronger and we grow more aligned with our missions. And maybe you're not resonating with this because you're still in the muck of it and you're feeling like all that ickiness, right? But remember, like through all that ickiness, you keep growing. You just keep growing towards the light, having faith that there's more on the other side of this, and really do your work to make sure that you are aligned, that you are showing up in the most loving, peaceful way that you can. You know that within yourself, regardless of all the muck that's around you that you're navigating. Eventually, you little blooming bud, you're gonna go and you're gonna breach that surface and you're going to bloom and you're going to feel all that love and light around you. And maybe there are things that had to be pushed away in the mud, right? Some things that had to be pushed away in order for you to get to that point. And this is where I'm going to digress and go back into the programs, right? The programs that say, that for me said that I need to show up in this particular way because this is the right thing to do. And zooming out and remembering, no, he chose me because I am a guide, and I can be a guide in a different way than mom intermission. I lost the trail of thought that I was on, and I settled more into the knowing that maybe, just maybe, family looks different. Family is different than what we see on TV. It's different than what we maybe even grew up with. And as humans, we are evolving at such a rapid rate. I don't know if y'all can feel it, but I feel it. Like a simple example would be to look at the internet, right? How many people actually remember a time before cell phones? Like before we all had cell phones. Before we had internet that actually loaded quickly without being line by line. How many of us have children or know children in our life that have experienced a time before iPads, right? I have no shame. I saw 111, new beginnings, okay? I feel no shame with giving my son an iPad because life has changed. I do believe that there's regulations and that there should be management over it. And these are the things that we are navigating in the time that we are in right now. As humans, we have evolved, right? There's so much technology in our world nowadays. And if we want our children, the youth to still be able to function in society, because the idea is to weave in and weave out. Like this is still very much of our reality. My belief, my going forward, and what I'm doing is I do expose him to technology and I do use it as a tool, and I also have certain protections over it as well. And it's about finding that balance and navigating it in a way that we weren't taught because we didn't grow up with it, right? We came into it and we've been navigating it, and with each technological change there's more shifts that we're adapting into. Like just think about it, if you haven't upgraded your phone in quite a bit, there's a lot of capabilities, a lot of things that you don't have access to, and society has already moved to that point. And so it's like you keep up with the Joneses or you choose to not, and then you're just choosing your lifestyle. It's not like good or bad. It's just acknowledging that if one day you do decide to shift into that other thing, there's going to be this learning gap, right? Because I remember, and this was like 2017. Okay, 2017, I decided to get on social media again. I had gotten off of social media. I don't even remember how long it was, but I got off of it and I just lived my life. And whenever I was going to start the vegan food truck, I was thinking, you know what? I need to get on social media again because I know that this is where people are going. And I feel specifically with the Instagram platform that this is where people are going to start getting their information. And that's where I'm going to channel all of my information. And sites are like spots to pop up. And so I got back onto it. But when I got back onto it, I was just like, whoa, because I also got onto like Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and all of those things. And now I've like regressed back down to just like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And it's very much just like, whoa, I felt like I was entering a new world and I needed to adapt to it. And so I had to spend a lot more time jumping into this new world. And I was thinking, it's like, it had only probably been like a year or a little bit more that I was off, but so much has changed. And now things are changing even more to where like I'm thinking about offerings through the digital world and how much AI has an influence on it, and how like there's of course all these great capabilities of AI, and there's also some like terrifying things where I don't know if you've seen it, but you can literally just record yourself, say a few things, turn your head a bunch, and it'll create an AI avatar that you can just program to say whatever you want, and it looks like you, it sounds like you, so quick. And so those are the areas where I'm just like, oh my goodness, but these are the things that we're navigating, right? These are 444. What I'm feeling right now with the message is like, stay out of the fear aspect of it. Take the fear out of it, because you still have angels. You still have your spirit guides. You still have the divine intelligence that's within you that is helping you navigate all of these things in real time, in a preceding time as well. And so our youth is just completely different, and that also means the way that they're raised, right? Maybe they don't have grandparents, maybe they don't have a mother or a father, or maybe the dynamic is just different with the time, and the quality time is different, like the length of time versus the quality of time. And maybe they don't have aunts and uncles and cousins and all of these things, but there's community. We have evolved to the point where we have soul family now. We have people who can step into those roles. Like I remember, moving away from all of our extended family, and you feeling that void. And I had a neighbor who was in her 70s, and she said that she was my adoptive grandma. And that was my first token of like feeling a little bit of healing. I was like, yeah, this is my grandma. Like, she's not my blood, biological, but I'm doing all the things I would imagine I would do with my grandma, right? I'm baking holiday cookies, and we're sewing dresses together, and she's telling me all of these stories. And so all of these things I really, really like. And then as time goes on, like I found like adoptive aunts, and so I call these people soul family, right? So like I have soul grandparents and soul aunts and uncles and soul siblings as well. They're all soul family, and so that's what we're really moving into, like to hang less on the programs that make us feel limited, make us feel the energy of defeat and all the pressures and all the inadequacies and insecurities that come from not fitting into the mold of the structures that had preceded us, because we're in a new time and times are continuing to change. And like I was saying, with all of the beings around me nowadays, and seeing how like this is such a common phenomenon and we're all trying to navigate it and we are all doing it, it's like that's where the beauty is. And so for me, that was the biggest hurdle for me, is to unprogram what I knew and what I desired from what I knew, and to rest more into the acceptance of the what is and then the possibilities of the future. Because I would do a lot of comparing between my children and being like, but I want, like my oldest, he hasn't met his father. Like, we separated when I was pregnant, and so like the masculine influence that's in his life. Okay, yeah, sure. Rian, can you come over here? You can sit beside me, or you can go in the tiny home. Okay, but you already said goodbye. And there are challenges to operating in a new way, right? And there are blockages as well. Somebody, and I've already dove into the psychology of this, and so it doesn't affect me anymore to a large extent. Like, it doesn't circulate in my head, it doesn't ruminate like it used to. But somebody once told me that if I left them, my value as a woman was depreciating, because I have 2 children and I'm getting older. I'm 32, y'all. My perception of age is a bit different than other people, but that's what they said to me. And I remember navigating outside of the relationship and just being like, I will prove you wrong, right? Like, I will prove you wrong. I can still have a family dynamic with 2 children, being the age that I am. And each time a relationship would falter, it would be because of those reasons. And then the program would come back up again, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. So this is being activated. Is it me allowing this energy to be in my field, or is it the reality of things, not attaching how I felt to it, just trying to analyze, like, why is this happening? And so navigating has been challenging, and it forces a person to get creative. And that's what evolution is. Evolution is looking at circumstances and seeing, like, where it's not efficient, where it's not working. And there are just certain facts that can't be changed. And so you choose to continue moving forward and know that things are going to be a little different. Maybe you're living life a little more taboo than other people would feel is normal. Because what is normal anymore? Life is changing so quickly. So for other people to cast judgments on the way that you're living life, to me, I have no patience towards it. Like, it doesn't matter, because I am the one that's navigating it, right? I'm the one that is actually going through all this. I'm the one who has to show up. I'm the one who has to choose. And if there are forces that are working against my desires, there's a higher reason for that. And a big thing when I was talking about my boys, right, I was thinking, like, Brian had me as the primary influence, and then all of the beings that I interacted with, the community, the flow. And my youngest one, his life is different. It is already different from his brothers. And it's okay. It's okay that they have different life paths, because they came in here with different missions, with different intentions, and the commonality is that they chose me as a mother, right? And so I will show up for the children in the way that I am, by being. And if there are forces outside of me that I keep fighting up against, and it's giving me the same results, it's telling me, maybe this isn't a fight that I'm supposed to be having. There are multiple outcomes. And just because a decision is made doesn't mean that I'm good or bad, that the other person is good or bad. What it means is that things are just different. And then the best way that we can really show up and navigate all of the different programs is just to be true to ourselves. What do we really want? How can we embody that and be the example for our children and tell them that they can be love. They can feel lightness in them. They don't need to placate. They don't need to exist as a peacemaker and make decisions based off of what would make society feel good or other people feel good. Because the greatest lesson for all of us is to truly walk aligned, to walk as beings that have good intentions. And we have so much healing as individuals, as a collective, as generations, as a human species, and we're continuing to evolve. And right now, my golly gosh, we are evolving at such a quick rate. I don't know if you guys have been feeling the vortex energy, but I have. And it's getting quicker and quicker. And it's just like less time to think, more time to feel into it and navigate it, because we always know what to do. It's our minds that limit us. We are so limitless. There are so many things that we cannot see in the future. And if we just release the hold of the hand, we'll see that the world is full of blessings and we have so much to be grateful for, and that there's so much outside of our control, and it is okay to not be in control. It is absolutely okay to not be in control, because life will still continue on. You just make sure that you're being a good influence. You're doing what feels right to you.
Thanks, Mommy.
You're welcome, sweetie. And on that note, lots of vulnerability in this one, yeah? On that note, I have a few decks in front of me right now. I'm just going to do an insight. You've already had so much information to digest, and I know your mind is probably trying to pick out what things that you want to believe. Thinking about the programs that may be existing right now that go outside of what you were programmed as a child, go outside of what you were programmed as a generation, go outside of what was programmed as a human species, and for whatever that means to you, for however it resonates to you, like, you know that. And I know that's a lot already, because our thinking minds are wanting to go over everything, and we've got to work with our thinking minds, absolutely. But activate your heart space. Really clear out those areas. This card, I know this card is the one. It's always the one. It's a little crinkled, so I already know what it says. It was the one I pulled for the sound bath yesterday too, and I've pulled it so many times over these past few months. And the message is to create a safe space, right? Create a safe space for yourself to dive into those programs, dive into even the walls and the shields that your ego has placed up around your heart. Open it up, release it, acknowledge that it's already done its work. It's time to let it go, so that you can use that energy for something else. Like, we want open heart spaces so that we can truly navigate these times, these trying times, these beautiful times, these times that are calling for great change, and great change in the way that we might not even have people who have spoken what the change is, because sometimes, like, you are going to be the first one to make a change, and people might have thoughts about it. You might even have thoughts about it, but you know in your heart space that it is the thing that you must do, and you have to do it anyways. Okay? And so, like the message I was saying yesterday, you need to allow yourself to grieve these things because you have emotions that are attached to them. And it's absolutely okay. It is good to have emotions attached to things, and you need to feel them so that you can release them without bypassing it. So you know how you feel about certain things. And then open yourself up to the acceptance of the other beautiful possibilities, right? Because what you're playing in your mind of the narrative of like, if you do this, if you show up this way, this is going to be the result. You could be programming that into the future, and that could not even be what the actual intention is. Like, I know for me, I know the truth. I've known the truth about, like, I can see glimpses of the future. Just enough to, like, satiate hope. And it's a lot of fighting the other possibilities that might be out there. And you really just got to hone in on yourself and know that you're showing up in the best possible way that you can, in the ways that you can, right? Given your circumstances and all of that. So the insight is to create a safe space today for you, for others. Be the listening ear, be the helping hand, open your heart, and receive your reward in the giving. You know, it's how you show up. 1111. Affirmation. I am safe and loving to be around. Everyone offers me the opportunity to love and be loved, and I am grateful that we are able to share in it. We're all going through things separately, but together. If anybody would like to donate, I am opening up the channels for abundance. And you know that the energy that you give will be given back to you. And if you would like a service, reach out to me. You know, we'll exchange in the proper ways. I still do holistic guidance where I go over health. Have a background in holistic healing. So whether it's herbs, homeopathy, vitamins, minerals, diet plans specifically for plant-based and vegan diets, energy healing, spiritual work, past life regressions, frequency treatments, sound healings, chakra work, meditations. I'm sure you guys have gotten enough feel for me to know that there's like a bunch of different tools I have underneath my belt that I am here to share. I don't covet the tools that I have because I want everybody to learn how to take charge of their life and their energy body, and how to be fully aligned with yourself. And of course, I'm still doing the work, right? I'm still navigating all of it. And I hope that there can be some resemblance of peace or solidarity in knowing that we're all going through these things together. Like, I'm no different. I'm going through things too. I'm navigating these things and I'm figuring them out, and then I'm sharing them with you guys. So again, my Instagrams are Wee Light Beans. This is my Cash App. And figure.8.energy. I'll see y'all in the future. And my goodness, the future, there's a lot going on. And it's good. It's good. You've got to release some things, but my goodness. There's so much I could say about that, but I don't have words for it.